All right, we are going to get started. First, I want to thank everyone who is here, the students on this call. My name is Alexis Davenport. I'm the Student Organizations Program Coordinator. So, anything you can think about organizations wise on campus, that is me. We're really excited to have the Career Center here for our second official webinar during our webinar series for this semester. We have Caitlin here to talk about leveling up with LinkedIn. So without further ado, I will pass it on to her. As far as questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But if you do have a burning question, you can raise your hand and we'll make time for Caitlin to answer live. Aside from that, you'll get your CLE credit code at the end. So we have you until the session is over. But again, really want to thank everyone for being here, especially Caitlin. So, okay, Caitlin, I'll pass it along to you.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Really happy to be here. I personally love LinkedIn. I know it's definitely moved into some cringy space at sometimes, but I just think it's such a wonderful tool, and I'm really excited to share a little bit more about how you can use it to its greatest potential. Outside of those, like I'm thrilled to announce posts because it can do so much more. But I'm one of the assistant directors of career education here in the Career Center. For anybody who hasn't been to the Career Center, we're located in Haynes Hall. We take up the entire second floor, and we're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you're welcome to stop by, and that's where you would have coaching appointments. But today we're here to talk about LinkedIn. So why do so many people push you in the direction of LinkedIn? Yes, it's one of many professional networking platforms, but what's so important? Why do we consider it to be so valuable? So first and foremost, it is a great place to search for jobs. So there is a giant job board where you can set custom alerts. You can filter through opportunities based on honestly, like a frightening number of criteria. And you can also follow along with employers that align with your career goals or aspirations. It's also part of your, again, for better or for worse, your personal brand. But it's a way for you to showcase your accomplishments, experiences, advertising your interests, and again, creating some buzz around what it is that you do and what you can do in a professional setting. It's also a place where you can continue to learn. So while you are still in school, I'm sure that is not something that's hard to do. You're in class every day. You have the opportunity to learn new things during every semester. But as you move through your career, there are also other opportunities through LinkedIn Learning, which we'll talk about in a little bit, so that you can continuously grow, not only professionally, but personally as well. LinkedIn is also an incredible research tool. This is my primary reason for loving LinkedIn so much. There's so much that you can gather from this platform that requires you not even to speak to anyone. It's there for pattern recognition, it's there for information gathering. And it can be, again, just incredibly useful in terms of research. And then, of course, it is there to help you expand your professional network. So connecting with and staying in touch with friends and family, but also UNC alumni. Recruiters are active on this platform. And then, of course, other professionals across the globe. LinkedIn has over 1 billion users at this point. It was founded in 2003, so sometimes before many of you were actually born. So it's been around for a while. It is used, again, across the globe. Your ability to connect with people of all shapes and sizes, it's there. And it's a great tool. So how do we get started on LinkedIn as a student? When I was coming up through college, this platform was reserved for people who are already in the working world. There wasn't really a ton of space for a student to customize their profile. That is not the case anymore. So there's a lot of functionality that you can use even as a student at the beginning of your career. So we wanted to take you through maybe a checklist, but just going through some of the functionality that LinkedIn has in terms of your profiles. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that if we choose to post a photo, that it is a professional photo. It doesn't need to be taken by a professional. You don't have to shell out, hundreds of dollars to have your photo taken. I will point out that in the Career Center and then also in the Health Sciences Library, there are two professional headshot booths. So you can go into this little pod, essentially. In the Career Center, you can close a door and there is a self-guided photo booth, almost like one of the old-fashioned photo booths where you can get professional headshots taken. There will be directions on the screen, like drop your shoulder, move a little closer. You can choose different color backgrounds. And again, those are free to use for UNC students while these two buildings are open. So professional headshots. You also have the ability to add a headline or a tagline or something that's a little bit more descriptive that appears under your name. So this is where you could put potentially a title. So even going beyond student at UNC, what's your major or what year are you? Or it doesn't even have to be about school. It can be about the skills that you bring to the table. There's a lot of flexibility here. And then, of course, the about section. So this is where you can share a little more insight into what it is that you find interesting, a little bit more about you, maybe the career path that you're looking to get on. There are formulas that you could potentially use. So starting with your present, introducing who you are. Obviously you're here at UNC, but what are you studying? What are you interested in? What are some of the experiences that you've developed, so potentially past, that you think would be valuable in a workplace setting? And then tell us a little bit about how your network might be helpful. So this can be anything like I'm exploring internship opportunities in the healthcare field, or I'm looking to shadow healthcare professionals. I had pre-health on the brain because it's healthcare week. Um, but so much more than that. Let people know how they might help you or let them know what you're exploring, even if you haven't centered on one specific path and you don't have to. So I will just showcase what that looks like. I'm going to leave my presentation quickly and then, of course, pull up LinkedIn to do a quick little demo here. So here's your profile. Here's a headshot. You can include a cover photo. A lot of my research has to do with the UK. London's my favorite place, so I chose a background of London. Here is that headline that I was talking about. So I do have my title here at UNC, but I also went to graduate school and I haven't given up on the academic side of things. And then here is my about section. It's a little bit longer. I talk about my key expertise, a little bit about my background, and then a little bit about my graduate program. So it's the entry point. It's the first impression that you can make. Your education section will also plug in up here based on what you feed it down below. But again, this is first impressions right here. The first thing that you want to make sure you have. The about section is often the section that people skip out on. But again, it can be the most helpful. It orients people to who you are and again, how they might be helpful if they stumble across your profile. Now, your LinkedIn profile can also be broken down into different sections. You have total control over what sections you've added, and you can continuously add to them as you grow throughout your career. Obviously, the most popular section you can add is work experience. So that could be internships, part-time jobs, other types of employment that you've had. But there are other student-specific sections that have come about in recent past. So you can add the student organizations that you're a part of. I highly recommend adding your education to the section. So connecting your profile with the profile of UNC Chapel Hill. You could enter in volunteer experience. There are also skills that you could add to your profile. So that could be things like, so many of you have, R or SPSS or, different kinds of research methodologies. You can add as skills that are searchable terms that allow your profile to appear in certain searches that people do, oftentimes recruiters. You can add honors and or awards. This can be, if you're a part of a special interest group here, it can be scholarships that you've received. There's also a recommendation section where other people can comment on your profile about their experience working with you. And there are other badges that you can collect. Typically, this is done through um, the LinkedIn Learning. So it's courses or lectures that you've completed where you demonstrate that you have that capability, but these can be helpful, especially if they're skills or experiences that are going to be desirable to the employers you might be targeting. So again, this can appear and you have total control. We're looking at mine from my perspective, so you can see some activity here, but here's my experience section. It will automatically list things reverse chronologically. Your most recent experience up here. This section does not need to mirror what's on your resume. I don't include bullet points, but you absolutely can if you want to be more descriptive about your experience. What I've done instead is with each experience I have, I attach the skills that I demonstrated in that role. So here I talk about I'm the pre-law advisor here. I've used ChatGPT from a career development perspective. I develop all of these kinds of workshops. I use the Handshake platform, things like that. So you can add skills instead of bullet points if you want. You are in complete control over how complete your profile is. And certain things are more helpful. So here we have, all my experience. I've been working for a while, definitely aging myself here. But again, this is how I've done it. What you might find is many people in your industry, as you look at profiles, they are more descriptive. Maybe you do want to do that at that point, but you are in complete control here. It doesn't need to match your resume if you don't want it to. And then here's that education section I talked about where you can add an education as you type in, okay, so as you type, it auto-populates and you can select so that you can attach it to that page. I'm going to discard that change. And what you're doing is essentially, there it is. You're connecting your profile to the profile of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill or any other school that you've attended. And it means you'll appear in this alumni section. So over 200,000 alumni, UNC alumni, have active LinkedIn profiles. And we can talk about this page in a little bit. But that's what your education section does. Okay. Did I miss one? Okay. Sorry, I'm going to go back to my profile because here's where things can get a little different. So we talked about work experience. There might be students, or you might be at the very beginning of your career journey, and maybe your actual quote unquote work experience is limited. Here's where you can add things like projects or papers that you've written in your classes. So here are some of the projects that I completed for my graduate degree, and I've explained it a little bit more here, where I walked them through each of my experiments, essentially. I've also added honors and awards. So I've added that section there. You can actually connect your Duolingo. So if there are any Duolingo users out there, I started taking, Irish, which is interesting. And it'll update your score there, which I think is fun. While I'm not a student anymore, I am part of some other kind of professional organizations. I did contract career coaching work for a little bit. And then I'm also a self-professed Jane Austen superfan, and I'm part of the Jane Austen Society. I go to different events and lectures, nerdy stuff like that. And we're going to get to this interest section in a little bit. To add these sections to your profile, it's really easy. You'll just click on this button, Add Profile section, and then broken these down into core, recommended, and other kinds of additional sections. All you need to do is click on one of those and it will appear on your profile to edit. Anytime you want to update that, there's this little pencil here in the corner and you can update that section. We do want to make sure that we're also being careful. So like other safety and security measures that you might take with other social profiles, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, anything like that. This is especially important because you are managing your professional reputation on this site. So we want to make sure that you feel safe and you also are in control of what information, because this is a lot of very specific information about you. And if you don't want just anyone on LinkedIn to be able to see it, you can certainly control that using the settings. So to find those settings, you'll hover over your little profile icon, and then you have these settings and privacy options. So whether or not you want to manage your how you sign on, how secure the actual sign-in process is. In the visibility, it's who can view what aspects of your profile you can turn on and off. And then, of course, what data that you share with the LinkedIn platform. And then you can also control how your notifications appear. If you don't want to get notified or bothered by that, you can update those here. So something to consider. I think specifically female identifying people. Again, it's just kind of the the usual suspects here. You just want to make sure you protect yourself. This is a global platform and it is a lot of very personal information. So you have control over what is visible to people who might not be connected to you. The last profile setting you can add, this is a newer setting, is the open to work badge. So this is essentially, I'm trying to see if I can find one, but it will appear on your profile. It's like this little green ribbon that says open to work. What that does is it lets people know that you are actively on the job search, that you're open to hearing from recruiters. There are going to be people with different schools of thought when it comes to, is this effective? Is it useful? Is it cringy? Is it embarrassing? Again, you're going to have people with different opinions. I personally don't use it. It's something where, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, but it can be helpful if you actively are in the job search. It's a setting that recruiters can click when they're looking for people. So if you want to be easily found, maybe adding the open to work banner is something that you want to do. Unfortunately, again, this is one of those things like resumes, like cover letters, there's a lot of subjectivity to it, and you're going to get different opinions from different people. Any questions on those core components of your profile before we dive into the other kinds of functions of LinkedIn? Hopefully this was a little bit of a review. Not seeing any in the chat. All right, I'm going to keep going then. So like I said before, and I'm sure you're all very well aware, there is a job board component to LinkedIn. You can search for internships and jobs, although I will say, if you're looking specifically for internships, Handshake is a much better option. Handshake is a platform that is used by students and by over 1 million employers across the United States and now into the UK and Europe. This is where campus recruiters or early career talent acquisition specialists are going to be posting internships because it's so school concentrated, whereas LinkedIn is a large majority established professionals. So while there might be internships on LinkedIn, I definitely recommend using both LinkedIn and Handshake if you're specifically on the internship search. But like I said, the platform is a great platform for research, for keeping up with different companies that you might be interested in, following along with announcements they might have, or aligning yourself with people who actually work there. So highly recommend looking up employers that you've heard of, that you identify with. It can just be brands that you love. I follow so many skincare companies because I always like to know when they have new products, and they post here just as frequently as other social platforms. But it allows you to identify and connect with people who might have the jobs that you're looking for. You can see who else might follow this page or who else you know that might work at this company, whether it's an alum or one of your friends or connections. And you can also do a little bit of research in terms of what this company is all about. So here is a screenshot. So every company page is going to have a homepage. You can learn a little bit more about their services. Usually this has a link to their official website. Products is a new one. So if they're selling something, posts are all about the things that they actually post on this site. Some of them might post jobs, so you can easily search jobs only at one company. And the people tab is insanely useful. Also, remembering Handshake does have profiles like this one as well, in addition to a messaging platform, so that you can connect with employers. So let me pull up. Let's see. This is one of our oldest employer connections here. So if you have an interest in a company, you can look them up here. You can visit their website. But here, this is helpful. So, oh, it's good. They get a badge, top ranked companies on LinkedIn. That might tell you something. If I ever wanted a job here, what I might see is, oh my gosh, two of my connections, I made these connections earlier in my career. Two of my connections already work here. Maybe instead of applying cold to a job, I might reach out to either Abby or Molly saying, hey, I have an interest. Do you have a referral code? Because I know both of them personally. Otherwise, I might send them a message just saying, can you tell me a little bit more about this company? Or I didn't realize you worked here. Things like that. So useful information there. Go back one more page. But the people tab is where I spend a lot of time. So let's say I've always wanted to work at Fidelity, but I don't know what it takes to have the same. My background is in HR. So what I might do is, okay, let me see what HR is all about or what kinds of experiences I might need to have to work in HR. So I might search for human resources. And what that will do is it will filter anybody who says that they have worked or currently work at Fidelity with human resources on their profile will then be filtered. So here's an HRBP, here's a director, and I might start clicking on those profiles to see what they're all about. I might look at where they've worked in the past or their level of education or just how much experience they might have before officially submitting an application. It helps you benchmark, am I aligning myself with the position that I might be applying for at this organization? Or who might be a hiring manager? Or who might have more information if I'm interested in this career? So employer pages can be really, really helpful. And again, following them will make sure that when you click on your homepage, you can follow along with them. It's something that you can continuously scroll. Another form of doom scrolling for sure, but you can keep up with announcements. You can make comments. Other people will share information. So another news source. And then they've definitely made some changes. Some of you might have the AI beta testing job board right now, where you're able to, instead of entering keywords, you might be able to describe the job that you want. But you can search for jobs using a variety of filters here or criteria, whether it's a job title that you have in mind, if there's a specific company you're looking for, you can search by location. I highly recommend setting job alerts. So what this looks like is when you click into the jobs tab, oh, of course it's going to do this to me. So actually what I might do, instead of clicking on the jobs tab, because they've moved everything around, I might, I use this as an example all the time. I got my start in HR as a campus recruiter. So I might search campus recruiting in the Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill area. Anytime you make a search, this heading will pop up. You can set an alert, and it's one of those notification preferences that you can submit. Or you can add additional layers here. So I highly recommend searching for only the most recent job postings. If you have salary requirements or you want to get a sense of, does that make sense for this job? Depending on the work environment, whether you want remote, hybrid, etc. But there are so many other filters. So you can filter by company. I really like down at the bottom, because I'm someone that's very conscious of the little trigger shy or trigger happy here. I really am very conscious of the benefits. So I'm someone that I know that based on the roles that I look at, I'm not going to get the highest salary, but I am someone that really is looking for well, pension plans or 401k. So retirement benefits are exceptionally important to me. I know that I need health insurance or things like that. So pretty self-explanatory, but just wanted to show you the depth that you could go to. There are also these commitments. So if you are looking for a company that values certain things like work-life balance, that might also be something you check off, and I think can be really helpful. Um, so yes, it's very powerful job board. I think, yes, it is another version of doom scrolling. The reason why I like setting job alerts is because you're just hand delivered anything that's recently added with these criteria in mind. So you don't have to sort through all of the other ones. I also highly recommend joining different industry or interest groups. So here's a screenshot of one of my an older version of my LinkedIn groups list. So these can be professional organizations like legitimate associations. It can be, again, industry or job specific information. So at one point, I was really interested in learning in design. So I joined that group. It also could be an alumni group. So joining the UNC alumni group, you can join right now, even as a current student. But you're able to connect with people within that. You can post, you can ask questions, you can connect with individuals who have those similar interests. And a lot of times, what they'll do is they'll share news and resources, and it really helps you stay up to date depending on that interest or that affinity group. And then, of course, I highly recommend connecting with fellow Tar Heels. So, we're going to talk about what we actually say in a second. But starting with alumni is honestly one of the best places to start. You already have one core piece of background information in common, and that is that you are Tar Heels. So, if you're looking to start with alumni, you can visit the UNC Chapel Hill University page. And like I said before, there is this alumni tab. And similar to the people tab on an organization's profile, you can search for alumni with specific job titles or they work at companies. You also have these pre-sorted filters. So I was actually speaking with a student who isn't from North Carolina, but and is looking to shadow different professionals when she goes home to Chicago. So what I might do is, these are all North Carolina, so I might add in a Chicago layer, and that will filter anybody from Chicago. But you can also look at what they studied. So if you're still deciding on a major or where they work or the top skills that they might have that you could focus on, that's also helpful. And again, you can start looking into their profiles or you can send connection requests so that you can keep up to date with those. The last element of LinkedIn, the last function I want to talk about before we talk about strategy, like actually using LinkedIn to connect with people, is a reminder that you, as UNC students, have free subscriptions to LinkedIn Learning. All you need to do is click on this link. You'll have a copy of these slides. ITS offers this connection functionality. So you're going to log into LinkedIn using this green button. And then when you've connected your profile to LinkedIn Learning, it will appear up here in this right-hand corner. And this houses thousands of short and long courses that you can use to upskill, to learn new things. It ranges from soft skills like negotiating salaries. If I could type faster. So they have things like this. This is a little bit longer. This is only 18 minutes. This is about busting myths, or it could be something like I had to take one of these for grad school. I had to take an HTML class for my graduate degree, and it was one that was kind of long. It might have been this one that was 26 hours. We had all semester to do it, where you can then save. It's self-paced. And some of these trainings also allow you that they grant you like this badge or a certificate that you can then post to your profile and, of course, add to your resume. There are also official certification programs that are offered by usually tech companies, but larger organizations that might have specific skills they want their employees to know. And again, it's certificate eligible and you can save it. And again, self-paced there. You have a sense of how long it is. So if there's a class that you've always wanted to take, but maybe they don't have it here at UNC or it's not offered that semester, if you want to learn something new to elevate a project or a paper, you can do that here. And then, of course, you can also use it to learn new things. I work for a university, so LinkedIn Learning is also free for me. And that's how I grow professionally as well. I usually try to take one or two courses per semester just to keep things sharp and to keep learning. Okay. So, final tips. I think, like any other algorithm based platform that you use, this is not new news to you. The more information you give LinkedIn about your interest and your abilities, the better that news feed is, the better the recommendations will be. But pay attention to what it offers because there might be opportunities or people that you want to connect with that maybe you never would have come across had it not been for LinkedIn. Highly recommend following anything that you have an interest in. So when you follow, you can collect things like, employers, organizations. You can follow individuals so that if you're not comfortable connecting or, you just don't know them, you can follow their content instead of just connecting with them. And then a reminder that if you need a professional headshot or you're looking to get an updated one, we have these professional headshot or the iris photo booth in the Career Center and then the bottom floor of the Health Sciences Library. Any questions on that before we talk about informational interviewing? All right, I'm going to keep going then. So LinkedIn allows, LinkedIn is a key component of networking in this day and age. I really don't love the term networking. As a recovering, very anxious person, it kind of makes me itchy and like sweaty. It makes me think of walking into this some like clinical hotel ballroom and like exchanging business cards and then never following up with anybody. But there's a much more intentional way that you can go about building your professional network called informational interviewing. So essentially, it's like a coffee chat, it's like a one on one advising meeting. And you can ask for these at any point. And I highly recommend it's something that I continuously do, that you should continuously do throughout your career to stay on top of things, to build that network, because you never know what you might learn from someone or who somebody else might know or what jobs they might be aware of. So again, a lot of students ask about, okay, I get that I can use LinkedIn to connect with people, but like, what do I actually say? Or what do you mean when you say go network with alumni? Why is this important? So a couple of things that you can learn from other people and why these conversations can be so impactful is you can learn more about specific aspects of their personal career path, or you could choose to have informational interviews with people with similar jobs to get a sense of what it is that it actually entails, or just more information about an industry that maybe you don't know a whole lot about. You're able to ask about specific day-to-day responsibilities. I always like to benchmark, or maybe not benchmark isn't the word, but fact check myself. What assumptions might I have about a particular career path, and going straight to the source and making sure that what I've assumed about a job is actually correct. Or, not all job titles have the same experience at different companies. So what does that look like from a company to company perspective? You can also ask questions about the hidden job market. So this could be details about when do jobs like this become available? Or, is there something specific on my resume that I should highlight for this particular role or at this particular company? Or do you know how often this becomes available so that you can make sure that you're refining your job search strategy, whether it's the kind of role or the organization that you might be targeting? And then, of course, it's also just about building confidence. The more you know about your chosen career paths or career options, because it doesn't necessarily need to be one, the more you know about roles that might interest you, the better your strategy is going to be, and the more confident you're going to feel about whether or not that aligns with your background. So again, starting with alumni profiles, because I can tell you the number of Carolina alumni that I've engaged with, not even as an alum, but as somebody who works for the university, it's truly delightful. Tar Heels love giving back to the community and they love helping students learn from their experience because not only is it nice to give back, sometimes it's flattering to hear that your career path is, someone that, one that someone else admires. It makes their degree more valuable the more successful you are. So it's something that I encourage students to do. The worst thing that can happen if you ask for an informational interview is not even that they say no, it's that they don't reply. That's it. So it is very, very low risk, very potentially very high reward. Some questions again that you might ask about a company, about a job, about a career path of anyone. So, what does your typical week look like? What do you enjoy most about work? What decisions are you responsible for? Or what skills or experiences are going to be the most valued in your field? And I particularly like, this one, which is what past job or college experience best prepared you for this role? You have a lot of decisions to make while you're here on campus, and this can be the most impactful. It can help you choose what you're going to do here because while we are spoiled for choice in terms of all the activities, all of the opportunities here on campus, we're not going to be able to do them all. So how do we make sure that we're strategically choosing these opportunities to make the most of our experience that also aligns with our skills and interests? So, how do you ask for something like an informational interview? It's very basic. This does not require a 5 paragraph essay. It doesn't require you to tell someone your entire life story. We need to be respectful of people's time, and we only need to share the basic information. So, you want to first briefly introduce yourself. That can be again, very basic your name, you can say, I'm a fellow Tar Heel, or this is my major, or something else. Give them a little insight as to why you're reaching out. So it could be, I'm interested in working for XYZ company, and yours is a job that seems appealing, and I would love to learn more about what you do. Or it might be, I just changed my major from statistics to English literature, and I just want to find out more about the career paths available to me. Or why did you choose to major in this particular thing? So be honest. What is it that made you want to reach out? It cannot be, I'm looking for a job. It needs to be relationship driven here. And then ask for something specific. So include a time frame. That's really important because you're asking for something. You need to take ownership over the coordination of this meeting potentially. So it can be, if there's someone local, it could be in person. Oftentimes these take place over, video calls or virtual calls, Zoom, whatever. But ask for something specific. Do you have 20 to 30 minutes in the next 2 weeks to chat? It can, something as simple as that. If it's not within the 2 weeks, but they're interested in talking, they'll let you know. But again, you need to take ownership over this kind of coordination. So it can be something as simple as this. Hi, Marie, hope you're doing well. I'm a current student at UNC interested in public health, and I was inspired by your path as a fellow Tar Heel working in this field. I'd love to connect, and if you're open to it, schedule a brief chat in the next 2 weeks to hear more about your career journey. Thank you so much, and go Heels. Very short. The way that you send these can depend on your connection with them, though. So I'm going to pull up, here's my best friend. I'm going to demo. She knows I demo with her. I'm already connected with her. So this message button is going to be very easy. So this was something I told her husband is a doctor, and I told her about the pediatric center that Duke and UNC were talking about. So if I'm already connected with her, it's something that I could easily message her about. This allows you to keep in touch with your connections. But maybe I want to learn more about, oh my gosh. I'm going to search the job term financial analyst. So maybe I'm going to look for people. Okay. Looks like I have a bunch of people in common with him. I'm assuming, yep, looks like he's a student here, or he was a student at Keaton Flagler. So what I might be able to do is I could either press the connect button and add a note. We are limited to 200 characters here, so you don't have the most space. Um, if you've run out of message requests, this is the next best thing to first connect and then send a message. Or if you haven't sent a ton of messages as a standard LinkedIn user, you can click, oh, here we go. I don't have LinkedIn Premium, so I can't message him. I'm not connected with him, so I can't do that. What I might do now is I know he's at UNC, so I might look him up in my Outlook because I know we have everyone's email addresses. Or I might Google, let's say he worked at a specific company, let's say he worked at Fidelity. I might search email address format. Oh, here's Graystar. Here's another company. I was demoing this earlier. Email address format for Fidelity Investments. First name dot last name at fmr.com. I know this is correct. So you can send them an email directly to their work email address, which I can guarantee you they check way more often than LinkedIn. So another way to get around that. But very simple messaging here. You don't need to tell them your life story. We just need to send a quick request respectful of their time. Any questions on that before we talk a little bit briefly about one other networking platform that you might want to try before I close it out? Okay. So aside from LinkedIn, of course, hopefully you know about the Handshake platform, which again is great for internships. Similar to a LinkedIn, you also have, sorry, let me do my internal version here. Come on now. Like a LinkedIn, you could also post similar aspects of your job search and your background. They're a little bit more specific, so you can be very clear about what you're looking for. There is an about section, there's a skills section, there's a work experience section. Again, employers are also very active on this site, so you can fill that out there. But we also have a new UNC alumni database. It's called Heels Engage. Here's a quick screenshot. It allows you to connect with, again, looking for and searching for only UNC current students and alumni. So you'll log in with your Onion. When you click on that link, you will be able to start curating your network. So you can view someone's profile. I really like on Heels Engage, some people can select with here to help with. So if it's someone with an established career, so Charisse can talk to you about more about studying abroad or going to grad school. So you already know what they're open to talking to you about before you even reach out, which I think is really helpful if you're nervous or you're just starting out with these kinds of networks. You can look at their profile. So again, you can add your career journey. You can also join different groups, UNC specific groups. So there's alumni. There are also general groups here that you can join as well. And then I really like in this message platform, it's a lot more helpful. So they have these templates that automatically populate. I highly recommend customizing them to a certain degree, but with different templates. So you're looking to expand your network or you're looking to reconnect with someone. So even if you're not looking to reconnect with someone on Heels Engage, I might look at, this template. Again, it's very basic, but you can customize that as well. And then they also have this handy dandy scheduler where you can input your availability, whether or not you want to meet in person or video, to make that meeting request even easier to say yes to. So a really great additional platform to start with, especially if you're new to informational interviews or networking in general, or you're looking for something specific. So highly recommend Heels Engage. Okay, so I do see a question in here. So how do you follow up after an informational interview? I think that's a great question. And it's going to depend on how your conversation went, what you talked about, and what the purpose for reconnecting is. You do not have to be best friends with your entire network. I have now, X number of years into my career, I have over 1,000 connections here on LinkedIn. I can tell you that I don't speak to 99% of them on a regular basis. It might be something where I reach out when I need something. Um, I I take diligent notes during my informational interviews so that I have ideas of how I might follow up. So what you could do is, let's just say you talked about a particular, I talk about so many people with like the impact of AI on entry level jobs. So let's say I just keep an eye out for news articles about the impact of AI on entry level jobs. I might see that article and then follow up with a quick message saying, "Hey, just read this article. It's exactly what we were talking about, or it had this new insight. Wanted to share with you." Or I also love following up during milestone moments. So if you're a senior, even a junior, you're going to be graduating at a certain point. So if it's someone that you spoke with in the recent past, or it's someone that you spoke with that helped you kind of choose your career path, I might follow up in May and say, "Hey, thanks again for speaking with me. Just wanted to let you know that I'm graduating. Here's where I'm going to end up. Just again, really appreciated the insights that you shared with me." So those milestone moments. But once again, you do not have to follow up with these people if you don't want to. But it's also heavily dependent on what you talked about, what your reason for reconnecting with them is, and again, like what your ultimate goal is. So hopefully that answered some of your question there. And you can schedule a career coaching appointment if you wanted to talk more about your networking efforts. So to schedule a career coaching appointment, you can either schedule one on Handshake. So you'll click on this career center, you'll click on appointments, and then you're going to have more options than I do. I'm not a current student, so I'm limited to some of the basic ones. You will click on UNC Career Center, and then you'll see a whole list of resume review, cover letter, career exploration. Networking should be one of them, and you'll be able to schedule an appointment with a coach. Otherwise, you can take a look at the Career Center website, which is careers. I'm going to drop this in the chat, careers.unc.edu. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page, we have drop-in hours every single day. So Monday through Thursday from 2 to 4 and Friday from 11 to 12, where you can come to the Career Center, Haynes Hall, second floor, and meet with a career coach without an appointment for 15 minutes or sometimes longer if we're not busy. So that you can talk about anything like, how might I follow up with this one person? Here's this specific situation. So hopefully that's a little bit more helpful. But again, LinkedIn, I primarily use it as a research tool. I am just inherently nosy. I love looking at profiles. I am shameless. I will look at anybody's profile and I am proud of it. Just so I can study patterns. I can look at where people went to school. I can ask, did they have experience before they went back to graduate school? So again, it's a really great way just to gather information on top of job searching and of course connecting with other people. I also, again, it's just one of my news outlets now where I keep up with everybody in the world. And then you can also, of course, comment on people. Maybe one of your informational interviews posted something and you can react or comment on one of those. But I will stop sharing for now. Um, any other questions about the Career Center offerings or about LinkedIn or networking? Okay, I think we're just holding out for the CLE credit then, Alexis. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. And again, if you have other questions about LinkedIn or if you want somebody to take a look at your profile, you're more than welcome to drop by the Career Center.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin. I'm going to pause for just a few seconds to see if anyone has any questions for Caitlin. Um, Otherwise, we can move forward, but I'll just pause.
I know we're dragging. It's
Yeah,
almost
I
spring
know, I
break.
know. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your expertise. This video will be uploaded to our YouTube, Student Life and Leadership. So if you need to review the information again, feel free.